Barnaby, a scruffy ginger Tom with one ear slightly tattered from a forgotten fight, knew hunger. It was a constant gnawing in his belly, a familiar companion through endless nights and weary days on the cold city streets. His fur was matted, his ribs sharp beneath his skin, and his usually bright amber eyes held a shadowed weariness that mirrored the urban landscape he called home. He hunted, as all alley cats must, but the city offered lean pickings. Scraps were scarce, and the occasional mouse barely blunted the edges of his hunger. He navigated the labyrinth of back alleys, dumpsters, and the shadowy spaces beneath fire escapes, a silent, agile phantom in the pre-dawn gloom. One particularly bitter evening, the wind whipping like a cruel taunt, Barnaby huddled under a discarded cardboard box, the meager warmth doing little to ward off the chill or the deeper cold of his empty stomach. He dreamt of warmth, of a soft bed, and most of all, of a full belly. A dream so vivid, it made the reality of his cold, hard pavement bed even more stark. Suddenly, a scent, faint but undeniably enticing, drifted on the wind. It was the rich, meaty aroma of cooked chicken, a smell he hadn't experienced in what felt like an eternity. His ears twitched, his tail, usually low and guarded, rose slightly in a cautious question mark. Despite his usual wariness, the desperate hunger overruled his caution, and he crept toward the source of the irresistible smell. It led him to a small, brightly lit restaurant where a woman, her hair pulled back in a loose bun, was clearing away outdoor tables. She was humming softly, and as she picked up a dropped napkin, her gaze fell upon Barnaby, still half hidden in the shadows. Instead of shooing him away, a common occurrence, she paused, her eyes widening slightly. He braced himself for the usual shout, the angry gesture, but it never came. Instead, a slow, gentle smile spread across her face. "Well, hello there, little fellow," she murmured, her voice soft and kind. She didn't rush him. She moved slowly, retrieving a small, leftover piece of chicken from a discarded plate, breaking it into smaller pieces, and gently placing it on the ground a few feet away from him. Barnaby, still wary, watched her every move. The smell was overpowering now, a siren song to his starving belly, and he took a hesitant step forward. He devoured it in a flash, the taste of real food, a glorious explosion on his tongue. He had never tasted anything so good. The woman, whose name was Sarah, continued this ritual for several nights. Each evening, after the last customer left, she would leave a small bowl of food and fresh water, a comforting beacon in his desolate existence. Slowly, hesitantly, Barnaby began to trust. He no longer bolted when she approached, and eventually, he allowed her to pet him, the warmth of her hand a strange, unfamiliar comfort. One particularly cold night, as he finished his meal, Sarah knelt beside him. "It's too cold for you out here, little one," she whispered, her voice filled with a gentle concern he had never known. She opened a small carrier she had brought, lined with a soft blanket. For a moment, his fear resurfaced, the instinct to flee screaming in his head. But then he looked at her face, at the genuine kindness in her eyes, and he remembered the countless nights of cold and hunger he had endured. He hesitated. Then, with a deep purr rumbling in his chest, a sound he hadn't made in years, he walked into the warmth of the carrier. The next few days were a blur of new experiences for Barnaby. Sarah took him to a vet, where his tattered ear was examined and treated. His matted fur was cleaned and brushed, and he received his first vaccinations. He discovered the joy of a soft bed in a sunlit corner of Sarah's small apartment, a never-ending bowl of delicious food, and the intoxicating luxury of a warm lap to curl up on. The constant gnawing hunger was replaced by a comforting fullness, and the fear that had been his shadow for so long began to recede. Barnaby, no longer just a hungry street cat, thrived. He discovered a playful side he never knew he possessed, batting at dangling toys and chasing sunbeams across the floor. He became Sarah's constant companion, purring contentedly as he kneaded her lap. His amber eyes, once shadowed with weariness, now shone with a bright, trusting happiness. He had found his forever home, and the memory of the cold, hungry streets faded, replaced by the warmth of love and the promise of a happy future. He was a reminder that every stray carries a story, and sometimes a little kindness is all it takes to give that story a happy ending.